Well, good morning all, welcome to the Old Classic Car channel. Today I am at a slightly foggy National Agricultural Centre at Stoneleigh for the National Restoration Show. First time I've been to this particular meeting, but not my first time here at Stoneleigh. Yeah, it's certainly a bit of a foggy one. And on that subject, everyone on the motorway who didn't have their lights on, well, think again. And also, if you think that your daytime running lights automatically mean that your rear lights are on, think again as well. Right, with that public service message over, let's amble off in the general direction of Hall 1 and see what's here today. It's going to be a bit of everything. I think autojumble, individual car displays, car club displays, but like I say, I haven't actually been to this particular show at Stoneleigh, so I'm looking forward just to seeing what's going to be here on this particularly foggy old day. Oakley dokley, right, well I'm indoors now. Big indoor autojumble, and also a very promising looking jumble outside as well. I think what I'm going to do to begin with is head over to the far side into the second building, the second enclosed area through here, and just check out some of the car displays. I know there are several clubs here today, so I'm intrigued to see what's going to be here. I know the standard club are here, in fact they're right in front of me here with some very intriguing cars, so I'll have a proper look at these later. Wowzers, look at this standard 10 companion. You don't see too many of those around, so I'll definitely be having a closer look at this one, and I believe there are also one or two Triumph clubs here as well, so we'll check those out during the progress of today. We have a Land Rover over here, slightly modified, we've got LED headlights on that. It's on an A registration, so that would be an early 60s registration, but clearly with later panels on it. And staying with the Rover theme, what do we have here? Is this a P2 or a P3 4-seat tourer? Guessing P2. It's a Rover 12. So many of these cars, different engine sizes. The 12 relates to 12 horsepower, the old RAC rating used for the purposes of road taxation. So this is the 12. The smallest one I think was the 10, then he went to 14, 16, up to I think about 20, something like that. This one has the solid disc wheels. Early cars were on spoked wheels. Pretty handsome looking car, I think, this one. KKM 12, original registration number still in place, so that's always good to see. No side screens on this side, so we can have a bit of a peer inside, admire that very agreeable interior, very original looking seats. I think the squabs have been done, but the backrests, that's all the original seating material, and it looks all the better for it. Always very well equipped, these Rovers, real quality car. The P2s produced either side of World War II, later replaced by the very similar looking but slightly bigger P3. But I have to say this is one of my favourite eras for old Rovers, KKM 12. So yes, this is probably late 19, it could either be late 30s, then production would have been halted. So it could be late 30s or it could be late 1940s, but either way, it's a wonderful looking car, great set of lamps on the front, big hooters as well, matching pair of hooters. I wonder if one is high and the other might just be low tone, who knows. I'm here today on my own. The youthful assistant has gone off to somewhere in mid Wales videoing a VSCC or Vintage Sports Car Club trial deep in the middle of nowhere in mid Wales, so I hope he's enjoying his day. Hope it's not as foggy there as it is here. And now we are over for now. Anyway, there are more Rovers just over that away, but this is the Wolseley register stand, and we have a very much a restoration project, Wolseley Hornets. I think it's a Mark III with the concealed door hinges. I wonder where this one has been all its life. Of course, these were Mini based, so anyone with an old Mini will be very familiar with the scene under here. Little SU carburettor right on the back of the engine, all the ignition at the front. Yeah. Lots and lots to do here. Will it be restored? Will it be used for parts? That is the question. I guess they're not going to make any more of these, so in an ideal world this one will be restored. And you can buy most of the bits that I would imagine it would need. All this kind of thing here, the wings, the A panel here, it's all common to the Mini, so there's no problem getting bits for that. Yeah, it's proper barn find job, this one. Always like to see a barn find. Don't forget to let me know in the comments what old cars in this particular video you really like? And also, have you got a restoration project on the go? Do you have a car like this tucked away in the garage? It'd be quite fun to feature a few more barn find type cars, so if you've got anything tucked away, please drop me a note or maybe send me an email via the Old Classic Car website. MW, so what was that? OMW, I suspect. OMW 776G, yeah, it is a Mark III. Yeah, lots and lots to do there, but very worthwhile project for somebody. Certainly it's going to need a fair bit of TLC. It's got the stainless steel window surrounds, same as the Mini Cooper. They also had those. Right, let's carry on round here. Have a quick look at the other side. Oh, by gum. Yeah, slightly more complete on this side. Yeah, lots and lots to do. A few goodies for sale here on the Wolseley register stand. Maybe you yourself have got a classic Wolseley. Maybe you've got one of these. The little Wolseley 1500. I do like these. These are great little cars. They're based on the underpinnings of the post-war Morris Minor, but very, very different body, of course. The body shared pretty much with the Riley 1.5, but these, unlike the Morris Minor, this has the B-Series engine, a 1489cc. The Wolseley was single carburettor. The Riley 1.5 was twin carburettor, but these drive really, really well. They share the rack and pinion steering of the Morris Minor as well. So, yeah, really, really good. Certainly be a really good regular user, one of these. Fairly big boot on it as well. For a while, Dad had a grey one of these, and it was a lovely old thing to drive. It really, really was nice. So, I've got a lot of time for these old Wolseleys and the sporty Riley version as well. Lots of leather and wood in there. So that's all very, very agreeable. There's definitely a lot of auto jumble here today, which I'll check that out afterwards, but for now I'm mainly looking at the cars on display. This is the Triumph Dolomite Club stand. We've got a Toledo, a two-door Toledo, getting a little bit of TLC over there. Various bits and bobs for sale, repair panels, that kind of thing. And we've got a dolly here with a bonnet up, so a fairly late one on a W. Is this the Sprint? Can't quite see from here. Let's have a quick look. No, it isn't. So what engine is this? It's got the Dolly Sprint wheels on it, the alloy wheels. So what model are we looking at here? I can't quite see. It's a 1500 HL. So this has got the 1500 engine of the Spitfire, just under 1500 cc. And this was the ultimate evolution, really, of the old standard 8 engine, which began life with just 803 cc, then was stretched to 948. This engine kind of was also used in the rubber bumper MG Midgets 1500. So I've got twin carbs on this one. Whether that was standard fits, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, this is a 1500 HL. So it's nice to see one of the ones that isn't a Sprint, despite the alloy wheels that have been fitted to this one. Really nice to see that. Right, which way are we going to go? I think we'll go around the outside. And we're staying with Triumphs for a moment. What do we have here? It looks suspiciously like a Triumph Vitesse convertible. Very familiar scenes, as regulars to the channel will know. I recently bought a Herald 1250, so the scene of one of these cars with the bonnet in the forward position, as we see here, is something that's been pretty common of late. There's a few modifications been going on under here. This one has an alternator. It's got this pretty natty SAH. There we go. SAH Triumph Tune. That was a company that provided all sorts of tuning parts for all the popular Triumphs, from Spitfires and GT6s right the way through to the TRs, and indeed these, the Vitesses and the GT6, which shared pretty much the same engine as the Vitesse. This one's got twin Stromies on it, Stromberg carburetors. But yeah, that's a lovely rocker cover. I don't think I've seen one of those before. And it's also got quick release knurled nuts on there. But yeah, lovely. Yeah, and as you can see, so easy to get at everything there. The windscreen wiper motor, both master cylinders, clutch, brake. Yeah, it's nice to see a bit of Triumph action. Will we see any Triumph Heralds today? Who knows? A few extra bits and bobs in here as well. We've got this wood-rimmed motor liter steering wheel. I like the jigsaw. Some extra gauges just under the dash over there. A little stopwatch just there. The de rigueur driving gloves, very, very 1960s. Next to the Vitesse we have Triumph Spitfire Mark IV in, I think, magenta, this particular colour. It's a colour that was also used on cars such as the Triumph TR5. Always good to see a bit of Spitfire action as well. The first car I pieced back together when I was 15, 16 was a Mark III Triumph Spitfire. So that's pretty neat. And we've got an Astra representing slightly later retro car, modern classic, etc. This I think is a Mark III Astra. Is this the Rickman Ranger? Could be. The Rickman Ranger was like a fiberglass kit car. I'm guessing very, very modified. So what's all this in the back here? Many, many things. I'm not quite sure what the story is with this one, but lots and lots of gauges, lots and lots of engine mods. Right, let's go along here, and sticking with the retro theme, we've got a Nissan Figaro. Well, a neat looking little car based on the contemporary Nissan Micra. Lots of jolly colours were available when you bought one of these back in the 1990s. Wind in the hair motoring with the full back roof. That one's on a J plate. Quite a groovy little car. The Mark I Focus, interest in these is definitely on the up. And we go back slightly earlier to the early 1980s, and this is the Ford Orion. So this basically is the booted version of the Ford Escort. In many ways this was sort of not a direct successor to, but in the spirit of the old Ford Cortina, sort of proper three-box car, because the Cortina, the Mark V, was replaced by the jelly mould Ford Sierra. But this one sort of harks back a little bit to the old Cortinas that predate the Sierra. This one's a gear edition, so that's one of the posh ones, hence the metallic paint. I think the extra shiny strips down the side. We've got rear head restraints, so it's a 1.6 gear, this one. There you go, head restraints in the back there, all very plush. Automatic gearbox as well. Can't quite see in through the window, but you get the idea, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't see too many good ones of those around now. Quite a lot of Escorts, but not so many of the booted Orions. Now, when we were looking at the Dolomite before with the 1500cc engine, I mentioned that that engine basically is the same one that was fitted to these, the last of the midgets, the rubber bumper, or so-called rubber bumper midgets. I don't think they are actually made of rubber, but that's what everyone calls them. So the midget can date its way back, all the way back to the Austin Healey Sprite Mark I of the late 1950s, which they were powered by the A-Series engine, lifted from the A35, and these cars had the engine of Triumph, the Triumph engine. And it's amazing really that British Leyland sold two little small convertibles, i.e. the midget and the last of the Spitfires, the 1500. They've sold them in the same dealerships, rivals to each other, but with the same engine fitted, which I think that probably says quite a lot about British Leyland at the time, why you would have two competing rival cars in the same showroom, basically coming from the same company. Well, that's anyone's guess, but this one's a lovely example in bright yellow. Got a Lotus Esprit Turbo alongside. There was a huge gathering of Lotus Esprits at Bicester just recently. I think it was celebrating an anniversary, I think 50 years of the Lotus Esprit. This one is from 1985, mid-engine, the engine all the way over there. That's quite the stretch to get at it, directly behind the passenger compartment. Very big sunroof on these, hadn't really noticed those before. It's got a replica 85 tax disc in the window just to confirm the date of that C registration there. Alongside it in brown, this originally started out as a rubber bumper car, now with chrome bumpers, the good old MGB Roadster. We're always guaranteed to see at least one MGB here today. This one has been fitted with Minolite alloy wheels, very similar to those on Dad's car. Still has the original seating from the rubber bumper car. This very vividly coloured, the deck chair trim I think they call it. It's got overdrive gearbox in this one, manual box, overdrive, B-series engine, just under 1800cc, so slightly larger than the engine used in the little Wolseley 1500 that we were looking at before. Yeah, it's really cool to see that here today. And we're going slightly later just for a moment, and a trio of vividly coloured, very brightly liveried Jaguar XKs. Not quite sure what the theme is here, if there is indeed a theme, but they are certainly jolly eye-catching cars. Let's carry on through here. Like I say, lots and lots of auto jumble here, so I'll have a bit of a wander around. Now this is one of the T-Series MG midgets, as was, and I think this is a pre-war TA. Very similar to the TC, but a fraction narrower. And the only way I can tell them apart is that the body tub, the bit that you sit in, is a little bit narrower on the pre-war TA, which means you've got slightly wider running boards and 3 strips along them. The TC, which is the same basic chassis, but the cabin was ever so slightly wider, and they only have the TCs, the post-war TCs. They just have room for 2 strips on the running board. So I'm pretty sure that this is a pre-war MG TA midget. Lovely looking car. So this would be late 1930s, and the TC came in just after the Second World War and was produced for 2 or 3 years in the late 1940s. That is a very barney car indeed. A strict 2-seater, fuel tank and the spare wheel on the back there. Very similar to look at the back. Very similar to the single Le Mans, the Singer 9 Sports, that kind of thing. Although typically the single Le Mans often had twin sets of spare wheels on the back, and that often differentiated, at least from the back at any rate, from the MG. We'll keep going along here just a little bit because I spy another one here, and this again is a TC apparently, and this has got the 2 strips down the side there. So this is the post-war TC, this one late 1945, this particular car. Beautiful example in black, still with its original registration number on. Of course, at this time it was all export or die. After the Second World War, the country on its knees. So I imagine the majority of the TCs that were produced following the Second World War actually went off for export. Quite a few of them have been brought back to the UK. Whether this one's been abroad and come back, I'm not quite sure, but it's certainly a very bonny looking car indeed. This is the MG Octagon Car Club stand that we're on. There we go, it has a 1945 tax disc on the side. What a beauty in black that is. More MGs here. This I think is a ZS, a daily driver with 244,000 miles on it. Very modified B here. Lots and lots of differences when you start to look at it. Where have the front side lights and indicators gone? Different wheels, of course, no overriders, but the big difference is here under the bonnet. We have a twin cam engine, Origin. Not quite sure. If you know your modern engines, please shout out in the comments and let me know what engine that is. Maybe there is a clue on the screen. I don't think so actually. South Staffordshire MG Owners Club. Are there any other modifications? Different fuel filler there. Number plate moved beneath the back bumper. More often than not it would be on the rear panel there. A very sizable exhaust as well. I like the octagonal tailpipe on it. That's a nice little detail. A very sharp looking car. Like I say, I'm not quite sure. It's got the twin cam badge. That's off an MGA, because the MGA that came before the B was available with a twin cam engine, but certainly it wasn't one of these. But yeah, answers on the postcard please. If you know what engine that is that we're looking at under the bonnet of this MGB, then please do let me know. Your comment, as always, very welcome. Comments and corrections, always welcome. This is, well, we've looked at the MG TA and the TC. This is the TF. This was the car that was produced. It's the last of the real old style looking MGs, I guess, before the MG came along. So between the MG TF and the MGB would have been the MGA. Will we see any examples of that here today? I'm not quite sure, but this is the TF. So its pre-war inspired lines are very, very clear to see, but by this point in time the old style bodywork, it was kind of looking a little bit old hat. Of course, by now Triumph had the TRs out, looking altogether more modern. So this was kind of almost a stopgap really, until such time as the MGA was ready to go on sale. But very popular cars these, and a good choice as a first classic car. Right, let's keep going over here. This is the Long Buckby Car Club. Starts off with a red Mini with a turbocharger apparently. I'm sure that's quite exciting to drive. So this one, even though it's a hidden door hinge car, it's been adapted to have the sliding door windows to give it that retro look. So that's quite interesting, but many, many modifications going on here, not least under the bonnets where things are well packaged in. There's an A+ engine hiding away under there somewhere. Now, this, of course, is a 4-door example of the Morris Minor 1000. I've had one or two of these over the years. This was on an E registration, that tells us. This was put on the road somewhere between January and July of 1967. It's got those funny little eyelids fitted to it, but otherwise looks pretty much as it rolled off the production line over at the Morris Motors Limited plant at Cowley. Can we see through the window just about? The owner bought this one in January of 2020, bought from Preece in Shropshire.
Went to a garage in Ludlow.
Oh, did it?
Castle Garage in Ludlow from new.
Oh, right, okay.
Then we're not sure. Then one of the previous owner's daughters contacted me on Facebook.
Yeah.
They bought it in Church Stretton.
Oh, right, yeah,
I
okay.
bought it from a farm in Preece.
Oh, did you? Oh, right. Wow, so what have you had to do to it since you bought it?
Everything apart from the paintwork, basically.
Right.
New interior, engine,
Really?
wiring.
Was it on the road when you bought it then? Or was
It was, yeah.
Was
I drove it for about a year.
Right.
Slowly getting worse and worse. And then
as they do.
it went in for a job, and then it was, well, this needs doing, that needs doing. So it came off the road during lockdown,
Right.
COVID lockdown, and those jobs were all done. And since then it's been all over the place.
Wow.
Been Wales, Isle of Wight, Norfolk.
Is it? Oh, right,
Yeah.
so you've piled some miles on it then.
Oh yeah. I've done about 25 roughly thousand in 5 years.
Brilliant, that's what they want, isn't it? They need using, don't they? No, that's really cool. Let's have a quick peer inside. Yeah, familiar scenes to anyone who's owned a Morris Minor. Yeah, lovely, nice original trim as well. Ooh, yes. Yeah, great little cars these are. And next to the super clean Morris Minor, we have this very much project, part restored, Austin 7 Ruby. So this would be about 37 or 1938, that kind of time. And clearly plenty to do with this one. But if we look closely, we can see that actually a fair bit of work has already been done, because look at the chassis. Look at all this. This looks like it's all been apart and been done. Possibly the engine too. And I'm assuming that the body has just been sat back on it just for the purposes of bringing it here today to the restoration show at Stoneleigh. So many of these have been chopped up to make specials over the years. Slightly longer wheelbase compared to the earlier Austin 7s, the box saloons and the chummies, that kind of thing. But still, same engine, pretty much, the 747cc side valve 4-cylinder engine there. Yeah, all pretty good there. There's the original Zenith carburetor and the mechanical fuel pump. Morris, by this point in time, had switched to using electric pumps on the Morris 8s and so on, but Austin persevered with the the AC mechanical pumps for many years. And to be honest, given the choice, I much prefer having a mechanical pump as well. Yeah, it's all very, very neat, compact installation. But yeah, lots and lots to do. Will this be restored as a Ruby, or will the body be replaced by something maybe open top and sporty? Who knows? That's the fate of many pre-war saloons like this, make into specials. Yeah, lots and lots to do there. Right, we'll carry on over here because I see, well, we've got a pretty tasty looking AC Cobra replica there. And a Rover P4, not just any Rover P4, this is a Rover P4 that is for sale, NSL 568, so that's probably an age-related registration number. I've got many photographs of the restoration here. Is that Bicester? That looks like it could be at Bicester. Yeah. It's had a pretty in-depth restoration, this one. Rover 100, so it's a 6-cylinder car. There we go, there's the details if you want a P4 from 1960 resto mod. £10,000 or very near offer. All retrimmed inside, and another set of driving gloves there, along with the bank manager spec bowler hat, and indeed the satchel on the rear seat. Super condition, two-tone, non-factory colour scheme I suspect. That's a very sharp looking car indeed. Right, let's carry on over here, and we've got a Middlebridge Scimitar. So Middlebridge, when Reliant stopped production of the Scimitar, the SE6 series of Scimitar GTE, a company called Middlebridge took on the rights, and they produced quite a few of these back in the late 1980s, that kind of time. V8 engine nestled away under there, set way back in the chassis, so far back that you can fit the spare wheel under there as well. Big full-length opening roof on this one too. So really cool cars, I think. The Scimitars, still a bit of a bargain buy. Not so much the Middlebridges, they tend to command quite high prices now. But the regular Scimitar GTEs, the SE5s and the SE6s, they are still available for not huge amounts of money, and they do make for a very usable car. Fiberglass body. So that's all good to see. Right, let's just amble in this direction. There we go, Middlebridge Scimitar. There's another example on the end here. This one on a G registration, so late 1980s. Continue in this general direction, and this one, wow, this one stands out, doesn't it? By gum. You wouldn't lose that one in a car park, would you? Quite a few Middlebridge Scimitars here today at Stoneleigh. Pretty tasty set of wheels on these as well, and this one again is on a G registration, so late 1980s. There we go, Middlebridge number 35. I'm not entirely sure how many of these were made, but I'm assuming we're talking a few hundred. It's pretty neat to see these, but yeah, super useful. So you can lift up that rear window and get a lot of clobber in there, perfect for visiting an autojumble. I wonder how many of these Scimitars will be going home with autojumble finds in the back of them. Over here we've got a trio of rally mopeds, classic rally mopeds. Quite an early one on the end here. This is the one that strikes a chord with me as a youth in the 1970s. Dad had a pair of these in the shed, and we'd regularly go bombing around local fields on these. Initially I'd be sat on the petrol tank, holding on for dear life, and then when I was big enough I'd ride it myself around the fields and charging up and down the side of the house. Little Motorbacane 49cc engine in those, and yeah, I wouldn't rule out buying one of these one day. There's another early rally alongside. Pretty cool to see those here. And what do we have here? A Daimler. Now, is this a Daimler Conquest? Looks like it could be a Conquest. There were one or two different cars. Lovely car, MVC, so that's a Coventry registration. Coventry is not a million miles away from where we are today. Real quality car of the 1950s, pre-selected gearbox, 6-cylinder engine I think. Yeah. Nice to see a bit of saloon action. so many events I get to, you don't see too many preserved saloons. Lots of sporty cars, but not so many saloons. This is a relatively early Range Rover with 3.5 V8 under the bonnet of that. There's a little Honda, the CRX Del Sol Edition, C-Reg, so 1985, so 40 years old that now. Pretty neat to see that. And ooh, more Vitesse action. This is a Vitesse 6, so I suspect this would originally have had the 1600cc version of Triumph Straight 6 under the bonnet. Later cars were 2 litre. So I think I'm right in saying this is one of the earlier cars shown here in convertible even form. Right, let's carry on and march over this away, and we're back to Rovers. So there's that lovely open top Rover, the P2. This is somewhat earlier. This is a sports saloon, this is. It's got the 2 windows per side, or 4 light coachwork as they call it, with a slightly lower roofline. You could also get these with a 6 light body, i.e. 3 windows per side, but this is a real beauty. I love the shape of that. That is just a great looking pre-war, so probably mid 34, 35, from the mid 1930s. 4-seater, seating in the back, 2 individual bucket seats in the front, well stocked dashboard, great view down the bonnet to the big chrome Lucas King of the Road lamps. The Rover mascot there, and it's got one of these radiator blinds, or radiator muffs as they were called. So you'd fit these in the winter if you wanted to get the engine up to temperature that bit quicker in very cold weather. You'd roll that up to block off the radiator, and then as the weather warmed up, you would gradually open it up to increase the cooling into the radiator. It's got a little maker's badge on there, something Midland, I think it says. Don't see those too often on cars now at shows. Yeah. What a lovely looking car. I think it's a P1 series these tend to be referred to as. So a little bit older looking, as you'd expect, compared to the P2 that came along in the late 1930s, but I think these are very handsome cars indeed. I really do rate these. More early Range Rover just over here. Rover 25 coming much later times. This one on a Y registration. Now, I must make sure that I don't miss out these very interesting cars over here. We've got a gaggle of Armstrong Sidleys. Now, which one are we looking at here? There were various different Armstrong Sidleys offered post World War II. There was the Whitley, the Hurricane, the Typhoon. Now, which one is this one? Not entirely sure. So this is a fixed roof car, and you can see this wire mesh here to get the curve on the roof. So this would have had like a padding and probably a wreck scene over the top of it, very similar to that used on the Riley RMs. This is most definitely an Armstrong Sidley, real quality car. Of course, Armstrong Sidley, a name very much linked to the aviation industry, and the names Whitley, Hurricane, etc. will be familiar to aircraft enthusiasts everywhere. Straight 6 engine there beneath this very swoopy coachwork. Very distinctive looking cars. And you've got the Sphinx mascot up on the top here. It's one of those sort of post-war coach-built British cars that you don't see all that regularly now at the classic car shows that we do get to, but a real quality job, ash framed, and that's what's seen off many cars like this. The ash framing is not a cheap thing to replace. If you buy one of these with poor woodwork, you are in for some pretty hefty bills, and there's a lot of importance placed on the pillar behind here, because that looks like one very heavy door to be hanging off the B pillar like that. So yeah, That'll be a very good sign of whether the woodwork's in good snuff or not. Just see how well the doors open and close if you're looking at one of these cars to buy. Into the later 1950s now. This is the Armstrong Siddeley Star Sapphire. So this was a slightly revamped version of the original Armstrong Siddeley Sapphire. The earlier car had a much taller radiator grille and came over here, over the front of the bonnet. Still, we have the Sphinx mascot on the front, but this is the Star Sapphire. I suspect otherwise it was pretty similar to the Sapphire that came along before. Again, a real quality job, beautiful inside. Unfortunately the window's up, but yeah, leather interior, wonderfully equipped wooden dashboard, or proper wood as well, none of your plastic wood here. And, yeah. Very much a middle management car of the 1950s into the 1960s. 3757NB, I'm sure that's its original registration. NB, is that a Manchester series? Could well be. Even the shape of the door handles, beautiful. Not just the regular door handles that you see shared across so many cars. These presumably are unique to this car. All beautifully framed, chrome around the framed windows. You've got opening rear quarter lights here. That's another sign that you're looking at a quality car there. Yeah, it's lovely to see that beautiful example of the Star Sapphire here today. Now we're back to slightly earlier cars, and this is the Armstrong Siddeley Hurricane, the open-topped car. Again, a two-door car, ash-framed, four-seater, but with a huge opening roof allowing open-top action. So if you're going on a continental tour, you might want to pick one of these if you were the motorist in the late 40s, early 1950s, because this would be a very, very agreeable way to travel on your continental jollies. Beautiful car again, all wood and leather inside. That's what we like. And just on the end of the row here, something very, very different, a Volvo 700 series. I'm guessing possibly a 760 GLE with a V6 engine, but it is the limited edition long wheelbase limousine version. Yeah, there we go. This is not stretched. This is hand built by Volvo, Special Vehicle Division in 1988. This is the 740 GLE, right? So it's not got the V6 in it. This is a 740. I have actually got the brochures for these back at home. In the 80s and 19s, I was always collecting car brochures. And when I saw brochures for the stretched limo version of the 700 series, I thought I really need to grab one or three of those, and happily they're still in my office back at base. But yeah, nice to see one of these, very, very rare now, stretched limo versions. Now, the cars I was really looking forward to seeing here today at Stoneleigh, I had a quick look on Facebook and I noticed the Standard Motor Club were going to be here, and they have got a fantastic display of cars, including not one but two Standard 10 companions. This is a 1957 car, and regulars to the channel will know I do have a soft spot for small standards. We recently sold our 1956 Standard 8 and replaced it with a Triumph Herald. We're going back a little way. I've had a Standard 10 with the rare stand drive transmission, and a companion based on it's one of the later cars with a pennant style front end. The front wings were slightly different compared to this. In fact, there is a black pennant just over there that we'll look at in a moment. But this is one of two estate car versions of the Standard 10s here today. And what I like about these is these are proper four-door estate cars. Often car manufacturers would take their van version and simply put windows in the back and boom, there you go, you've got an estate car version. But no, Standard actually built this body specifically to make the 10 companion. This is not shared, this body shell is not shared or based upon the little Standard vans. And there were van versions. There was the van and the pickup versions of these were also offered, but they did not share. Certainly the van did not share the body with the companion. For one thing, the van, the cab came over here, and then for the rear cargo area, the roof bumped up again. So yeah, very neat to see this one here. Such a practical little car. I'll definitely have another one of those. And I mentioned pennants. This is the standard pennant. So this was like the run-out version of the standard 10. It had a bit of a facelift. Mechanically, it's pretty much the same, I think. Although this one is not the same. This one has got mods under the bonnet. But yeah, the pennant was kind of the run-out car until such time as the Herald was ready to go on sale in the late 1950s, 1959 to be precise. These cars were monocoque construction, whereas the Herald that came later actually had a separate chassis. I don't remember an induction setup like that on any of the 8s and 10s I've had, so this is lots of mods going on here. But yet the pennants, you don't see many of these around at all. So different front end compared, if you look at the little green companion, much curvier front end on the earlier cars. These have the hoods, the peaks over the headlights, and also little sort of tail fins almost at the back. So the wings, I think, are probably the same as the 8 and the 10, but this bit here is a very different shape, giving it a very different look. From the back, it almost looks a bit like an Austin Metropolitan. But I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen a pennant at any classic car show over, well, probably 40 years. I may have seen 3 or 4 of these. They're very, very rare now. And talking of very, very rare vehicles, is this super bonny little standard 10 pickup. Although they were never, I don't think they were ever really sold as a standard 10 pickup, but clearly it's a close relative. I think they were called the standard 700 weight pickup. But yeah, clearly based on the contemporary standard 10 saloon at the front, but with the pickup body at the back, and I do love that. That is a super little thing. These little commercial vehicles, the vans and the pickups, they get driven into the ground. I bet most of these didn't even make it to 10 years old before they were carted off to the scrapyard. This is a very, very unusual survivor indeed. I have to say, I do love that a lot. Right, let's carry on along here. This, and we have a standard 8. Now, what year is this one? Ours was a 1956, the last one that we had. I'm not entirely sure what year this one is, but it's going to be pretty much the same, 1955, 1956, that kind of age. This one pops up on Facebook quite a lot. It gets to lots and lots of shows, this one does. Well, it's always neat to see the very early standard 8s. Well, this is quite unusual because it's a standard 8 that has the opening boot lid. The vast majority didn't have an opening boot lid. To get your luggage in the back there, you had to fold the back seats, the backrest forward, and get in that way. A bit like a Frog Eye Sprite in that respect, or the early Austin Metropolitans. But this is quite unusual, being an 8 with the opening boot lid. Earlier 8s also had sliding door glasses in the front and the rear doors, with the little pop-up semaphore indicators that would have been between the 2 doors and the B-pillar there. This one, by this point in time, same with ours, it had the wind-up windows. Luxury of luxuries. Right, let's carry on around the standard club stand, because we are now looking at something pre-war. And handily, there is some information in the window. So rather than try and guess, I'm guessing standard 10. Yes, 1934 standard 10 deluxe. Looking for a few parts, so if you've got any bits for one of these, please contact the owner directly via the SMC. But yeah, this is 1934 standard 10 deluxe, first registered 1st of June 1934, 1.3 litres, 10 horsepower. It's got around 363,000 miles on the clock. So there's a bit of the history if you want to pause the video and have a read about this lovely pre-war car. There aren't too many pre-war cars here today, so it's nice to see this little 10 Deluxe. I've got a feeling I might have seen this one at Gaydon at one of the gatherings down there. But it is a wonderful little car, and you can see that, like that Rover that we were looking at, this has had a radiator muff on it at some time, because it's got these extra little mounting brackets here for the full radiator cover. But, yeah, always a treat to see proper old cars, really old cars, because I do have a soft spot for pre-war cars at these kind of events. You know, you watch the TV and people say, oh, no one likes pre-war cars, but I'm not convinced that's the case. And having spent a day yesterday with lots of pre-1919 cars, I think I'm going to agree to disagree on people not liking pre-war cars. But yeah, this is a great little car. Looks very original. The paintwork, the vast majority of the paintwork looks super original as well, and you've got the big sliding opening sunroof as well. The name Standard, it didn't really refer to standard as in boring, base model, that kind of thing, whereas that was sort of the later interpretation, I think. But at the time of standards, their heyday, I guess, in the pre and the immediate post-war years, standard was more referring to setting the standard as opposed to just being a bit basic and a bit boring. Bog standard, it wasn't that, it was setting the standard. After the Second World War, Standard actually bought out Triumph, who was struggling following World War II. But ironically, they actually carried on production a few years later. Standard Triumph, as the company was then known, actually dropped the Standard name altogether in the early 1960s with the last of the Vanguards, and just stuck calling cars Triumph from there on in. But it was Standard that actually bought Triumph out rather than the other way around. Okay, now we have this wonderful little Standard companion, the Standard 10 companion as found. Bit of a barn find spec car, this one, and this one is quite unusual. I think it dates to 1956, so the same year as our little Standard 8. And this has a super rare stand drive option. Stand drive was basically the replacement for a clutch pedal. So instead of having a pedal on the floor to press in order to engage a clutch, you press a little button on the top of the gear lever just over there. And like I say, the Standard 10 Deluxe that I had a few years ago, that had a working stand drive transmission on it, and it was great. So two pedals, you couldn't stall it in traffic, just accelerator and a brake, and every time you wanted to change gear, you just press the little button on the gear lever, put it into next gear and let your finger off again. It was a very neat system. And other manufacturers did have their own versions of what was called the Newton Drive Patent Transmission design. Apologies for the reflections. This is quite a rare companion in that it has the two rear doors. Most companions that you see, I mean, that one's got the twin rear doors as well, ironically. But most companions, I think, tended to have the one-piece side hinge door. That's what ours certainly had. But this must be almost unique, having the twin doors and stand drive transmission. Bit of a project, but I know the owner of this one has quite the collection of classic Standard cars, and indeed quite the assortment of spare parts as well in order to restore these cars. So be in no doubt this car will be restored, but it's really cool to see another stand drive equipped car here today. That's Stoneleigh, there we go, rare twin rear doors, and it has stand drive. There's a page on the Old Classic Car website that I put together many years ago, and it takes a closer look at how the stand drive system actually worked. So there's the 948cc version of Standard's little engine, the small car engine as it was originally designated. So a bit of cleaning to do, but actually it doesn't look too bad in there at all. To get the engine out, you actually drop the subframe and the engine out from underneath the car. You lift the body up and you slide it out from underneath the front. So that's quite neat. Another interesting thing about these, and indeed the Heralds that came after, the production line for the little Standard 8s and 10s and so on actually ran with the cars mounted sideways, as opposed to usually cars follow one after the other like that. For the Herald and the Standards, it was the other way around. I think they could cram in more cars onto the production line if they did that. But yeah, what a treat to see this super rare pair of Standard 10 companions here today. Wow, that's made my day, that has. Now I've just noticed that I missed these two out. Triumph TR6. Okay, good to see one of these here. We've got a lot of Standard Triumph content here today. So as a multiple owner of Standard Triumph cars over the years, I'm really pleased about that. And this incredible comma, wow. Now if you've got a very long memory, you'll remember I did drag an old comma lorry out of a barn in Somerset many years ago, an old racing car transporter. Current whereabouts are unknown. And this one, I think I've seen this one at one of the big shows held at the British Motor Museum at Gaydon. This, I think, is a hearse. I think I'm fairly sure in saying that this is a hearse. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. Hence the copious amount of glazing down the side. What a thing. Let's have a look at the information sheet on the front here, just to again pause the video if you want to have a read of this. Manufactured in January 1960. It was owned by Mr. Higgins, a local taxi owner, and we believe he had it altered by a local body maker into a hearse for Mr. Bevin of Ross-on-Wye, a local undertaker. But on presenting it to him, Mr. Bevan was told to have said, "I won't be seen dead in that." So apparently it was never actually used as a hearse. It went to Sweden at some point in time. So it was used on a farm. Then it came back over here into England. Wow, this one's certainly been around a bit. Particularly unique, and it's great that these one-off things have survived. What a great looking thing. Now, unless I'm very much mistaken, I think that is most of the cars looked at here in this particular temporary structure. Do you have any favourites? On my shortlist, well, of course, several of these standards really do float my boat, but as I am a bit of a sucker for pre-war cars, it would have to be this wonderful P1 era of Rover Sports Saloon. That is just one very handsome car, I think. And I think this would probably be my car of the day, certainly of those that I've seen so far. Now, there may be other cars dotted around elsewhere, who knows, but for now, based on what I've seen so far, this one is going to get my vote, I think. I think now is probably the time to have a look at some of the parts that are here for sale. Lots and lots of Triumph items, so I might have to have a proper rootle around through here in a bit. Of course, half the battle is being able to identify exactly what you are looking at. To also recognise that mooching around autojumble is not necessarily the most interesting thing to watch on the video, so I won't include too much of it, don't worry, but this will just give you a bit of a flavour as to what you can expect here today. Always good to see lots of proper jumble. Some jumbles you go to or shows, the autojumble is full of modern tools and all that kind of thing, fluffy dice, etc. But this looks to have a pretty good assortment of proper old parts, some new old stock, others used. Now, what bits do I need for the Herald? I'm sure there is going to be something here that will be suitable for it. I remember years ago looking for doors. I mean, those are often Mark IV or Mark V Spitfire. I remember spending ages looking for doors to suit the old Mark IIIs that I used to have back in the olden days. The driver's door for a Volvo P1800S there. Got some TR6 wings, TR7 bonnet there. Yeah. Certainly can be quite an interesting job trying to identify what you're looking at. What's that boot lid off? Who knows? Got some Beetle rear lights there. Lots of TR bits over the back there. And indeed here. Lucas lamps, the old No-Tech blue spot lamps there. The Lucas Square 8 fog lights. Oof. So much temptation. Cylinder head off a Triumph Dolomite Sprint. Aha, now here is one I almost did miss. How could I miss this beauty from the British Motor Corporation, dating to 1966. is this immaculate Riley 472. So this, I mean, it's a 66 registration. This is an evolution of the 468 that came before. Both had the B series engine, the twin carburetors. Riley was the sporting brand, I guess, within the BMC stable at the time. So whereas your Morris Oxfords and the Austin Cambridges, they just had the single carb, this has the twin carbs bolted to the 1622cc engine. Looks like we've got some ignition modifications there. And, wow, what a survivor that is. That is a real beauty. You very rarely see them in this kind of condition. Very hard to restore one of these now to this kind of condition. How did I nearly miss this one? Tut tut. Right, let's have a peer inside because handily the doors are open. Nice period radio there with VHF. Oof, all the modern conveniences. Got a Redex econometer fitted to just the side of the steering column there. Got a thermometer as well. Wood dash, manual floor change gearbox. Beautiful condition actually. This really is quite something. Opening rear quarter lights, or front and rear quarter lights. Nice trim in there. It's all good inside here. That's where they often rot out in the back arches. All these kind of places. Some years ago I ran an A55 Cambridge Mark II, which was also one of the Farina designed cars. So very similar at first glance to your Cambridges and your Oxfords, but different front and rear ends, different trim, lots and lots of differences. And this one is in spectacular condition. Look at that. Yeah, the 472. So slightly more powerful than the 468, wider rear track as well. So the wheels, the track is the width across the back axle. So the wheels were slightly more inset on the 468 compared to this, the 472. Very distinctive two-tone colour scheme as well. Yeah, what a treat to see this incredible survivor here today. And as befits a car with sporting pretensions, or at least sporting saloon of the 1960s, big rev counter or tacho on the right, a speedo, 110 mile an hour speedo on the left there, and extra instrumentation in the middle. Yeah. So it's still got the original carpets and mats, original door trims. Wow. It's been repainted at some point in time to a very high standard, but the chrome on it, well, the chrome is like new. Somehow, in between MG over there, the TA, and the black TC, I somehow managed to miss this MG TD. So, yeah, this one sat between the MG TC and the later TF. Examples of both we've seen here today. This is a TD, so this was an evolution, a later car to replace the TC. Steel disc wheels were standard fitment on these. Slightly different body, but clearly inspired by the earlier car. These built sort of in the early 1950s, and again most of these went for exports, which it looks like that was the case with this one. Being a left-hand drive, it's probably been brought back in from the US of A. That's where the vast majority of production did go. So it's really nice to see so many different variants of the T-series midget cars, from the TAs through to the TF that we saw before. No MGAs that I've seen as yet. We've seen MGBs. Haven't seen any MGCs either. I think the walnut dash is a later fitment. This is a racy filler cap. This is probably off a pre-war MG. Twin SU carburetors. It's got twin SU electric fuel pumps on it. A bit of the history here. So it's a 1953. Oh, originally it went to Canada. Right, the 1250cc overhead valve engine. Yep, so that's all pretty much as you'd expect. Again, pause the video if you want to read the full history of this particular car. But yeah, so this one went to Canada in 1953. Rightio, I think that is probably pretty much it for this particular building. Then we've got the main building where the bulk of the automobilia and the autojumble is stashed away. Got all sorts of goodies here. I imagine my youthful assistant, had he been here, would be having a very, very close look around. I see an album of old motor racing photos, so I might have to look in there myself to see if there's any pictures of Big Dodge stashed away in there. There's definitely a lot of auto jumble in here. I won't make you sit through a full guided tour of everything here, but if I spot something really, really interesting, I will of course jump on it and show it to you. Lots and lots of car parts. If you're rebuilding a car this winter, this is the kind of event you may well need to get to. But yeah, auto jumble stalls as far as the eye can see. No, I haven't got super long legs, I've just got an extension on the camera mount. But yeah, ooh, what do we have here? A Triumph Acclaim. More Triumph action. Well, this is very much based on a contemporary Honda, so this was the last gasp really for the once proud Triumph name. Who owns Triumph now? Is it BMW? Did they end up with the rights to it? I'm not quite sure. Possibly. This is a right-hand drive Acclaim from about 1982 or thereabouts. That's a super clean example. Right, let's carry on over here. Like I say, there's quite a queue to get in this morning despite the foggy conditions. Many wheels and tyres. There's Blockley tyres. The gentleman that owns Blockley tyres, he is a keen VSCC racer and has some wonderful cars in his stable, which we do see out and about at Lowton Park, VSCC events, Prescott as well. Now I spy a few more cars over this side, including a fairly early Morgan. This is a flat rad Morgan, so called because, well, it's almost flat when compared to the regular style of Morgan front end. And we do have a few restoration projects over this side, so I'm glad I came over here to have a bit of a look around because there are more cars just over the way. Let's go and check them out. What do we have here? A very barn fine spec Triumph TR5. This looks like a UK market right-hand drive car. Lots of these were exported, but this one looks like it's been here all its life, enjoying the British weather and everything that our climate can throw at it. So overdrive TR5 PI for fuel injection, a Lucas petrol injection system. But well, yeah, plenty to do there. But the values of good TR5s are such that this is probably a very viable restoration project, but not for the faint-hearted. Would you look at that? That is where the fuel injection system would have resided, on the side of the six-cylinder engine there, 2.5. Very similar engine fitted to that red TR6 that we saw earlier on, but whoa, plenty to do here. 1968, oh, it's for sale, as is or restored, so a restoration company's got this one. It's been off the road for 30 years or more. Previous owner bought it in 1978 and put it on his driveway and never touched it. Wow. So they only made these for 2 years apparently. Wow. 1,161 were made for the UK market. Yeah, Michelotti design body. I do like these cars a lot. But yeah, the restoration of that one is somewhat beyond my feeble talents, but hopefully someone will take this one on and maybe we'll see this out and about at a show in a few years looking a little bit more healthy. Right, let's carry on over here, see what else we've got. Another restoration specialist here. I think we've got a number of businesses over in this corner of the display. dedicated to the restoration, the maintenance and preservation of older cars. Got a big Bristol here, £25,000 for this Bristol. It's got XJ wheels on it, look like Series 2 XJ Jaguar wheels. Clearly prize-winning car. Oh, what a beauty that is. 25 grand. I mean, it's a chunk of money, or the price of the Mark II Escort. Which would you go for? Right, we'll carry on over here. Much accessorised VW Beetle, which I think we have seen before somewhere. There's a bit of a stage over here. There will be some guest speakers apparently here today on the Restoration Show feature stage, including a couple of people from the Bangers and Cash team. There we go. Looks like Dave and Paul of that establishment are around here today, so we might catch a glimpse of them later, who knows. But for now, I'm going to have a look around at the rest of the cars. MGB Roadster here. Again, with the Minilite alloy wheels. Of course, our Herald, our recently acquired Herald, has Minilite wheels on it. Someone's fitted those. Should I keep them on? Should I take them off? Who knows? Let me know in the comments what you think about Minilite wheels. This is the Triumph Sport 6 Club. This is a club that I was a member of many moons ago, back in the 1980s, when I first pieced my first Mark III Spitfire back together. I used to go to lots of local events and some of their car shows that they organised. Now, what do we have over here? Oh, we do. Now, is that a Herald? It's a coupe. Triumph only ever sold the Triumph Herald coupe, but this is a car I have seen somewhere before, a Vitesse Coupe. So they're a bit like a big Meccano set really, Vitesses, Heralds, Spitfires, GT6s, but especially the Herald based cars, because you could just unbolt the body. The bulkhead, the bonnet comes off, the big lift forward bonnet. The scuttle here that the door's attached to, that also unbolts from the separate chassis, and indeed the rear body is bolt on as well. So if you really wanted to, you could buy a car like this, probably not a Vitesse Coupe, but you could buy a Herald or a Vitesse, and if you could find the rear body section maybe for an estate or a convertible, you could in theory convert a car just using spanners, nuts and bolts to unbolt the rear body and fit the different body on. Of course there are differences. The convertibles, I think I'm right in saying the convertibles had extra door latches, so that if there was any flexing in the body with the roof off, you didn't get the doors pinging open, which is always fairly undesirable. But yeah, this is the one and only factory-built Vitesse 1600 Coupe, and how original does the paint look on there. Proper preservation job. But yep, you can see the coupe roof, which was really only ever fitted to the early Heralds. The early Herald coupes had a smooth roof, and this is the ribbed roof, as you can see here. But the early cars didn't have that ribbed section, it was just plain steel. Well, that is pretty cool to see this one here. It was ordered and sent off to France when it was new. It came back over here in more recent times and is now preserved. Hence the yellow headlamp bulbs, which was a French thing at the time, and we've got some presumably French road taxation or stickers in the window. What a rare old girl this is. Like I say, I think I've seen this before, but a very long time ago. Left-hand drive. Oh, what a cracker, and it's great to see it in its original condition. It's not been repainted. You think, obviously cars sometimes do need to be repainted when they've got beyond, but if this one can be preserved with most of its original paint, I think that would be a real bonus. Yeah, what a treat. A left-hand drive Triumph Vitesse Coupe. You're not going to see one of these anywhere else. Further goodies here available on the TSSC stand. Back when I was a member, the Triumph Sport 6 Club catered for all the Herald-based cars, Spitfire, GT6, Bonda Keeps, kit cars, that all had the Vitesse, Herald, Spitfire, etc. chassis under them. I think in more recent years it has expanded to include all the classic Triumphs. Yeah, lots and lots of bits for sale. It's getting pretty busy now. Let's keep going around here, see what else we can spot. Various bumpers, escort parts, all the bits and bobs. Official club tour for 2026. Presumably off to the Isle of Man. Yeah. I wonder if the Herald would make it. Hello. Right, let's carry on over here. Let's see what else we can spot. A bit of a meet and greet going on here. Right, more autojumble. Another Triumph Vitesse tucked away over here, the Vitesse 2-litre convertible, and this has got the oh so rare plain 5.5J steel wheels on it. I wouldn't mind a set of those, they do look very, very good, and it's got Triumph mud flaps as well. But if I was to re-wheel our trusty old Herald and take those mini lights off it, I would love to fit a set of these. There are more sets of the later pattern Triumph 5.5J wheels around, but there aren't too many of these plainer wheels, but with the hubcaps on they really do look good. And if I could find a set of those without breaking in a bank, I would very much like to fit a set of those on it. So if you've got a set of those wheels stashed away in your shed not doing anything, please get in touch. This is a lovely 2-litre Mark 1, 1967, this particular convertible. It looks to be in super duper condition. So the Mark II would stick with the 2-litre engine, but that would have the Rotoflex rear suspension and a different grille on it. This has got the earlier grille on it. And to many people this is the high watermark, but I do like the later cars with the Rotoflex rear suspension. We've got a Capri 280 here. These were the very last of the classic Capris, the V6 powered Capris. There's a much modified Mini. Right, I think before I head off over that way, there seems to be lots of chairs over here, so I'm going to have a sit down and just catch my breath because that's an awful lot of talking. But not before checking out this rarity. This is a Renault 25. It's a V6 turbo. It's a right-hand drive, presumably UK market car. Last time I saw one of these, we were in a little square in this tiny town in northern France. I did do a couple of videos of our recent trips to France, hunting down classic cars while we were there. And we did spot one of these, a very original 25, in a car park. I think the lady that owned it looked like the original owner. She was a little bit bewildered, I think, that I was trying to film her Renault 25 in this French car park, but not to worry. Entente cordiale and all that. But yeah, you don't see these all that often now at the old car events that we get to. Yeah, this Beetle. Let's have a quick look at this now there's fewer people around it. Every bell and whistle you could possibly imagine, including an opening windscreen. I'm pretty sure VW never offered that, but presumably an enterprising accessory company offers this. I've seen one or two cars thus equipped. Picnic tray, opening rear side windows, this big luggage rack on the back, above the engine cover, because of course all proper Beetles have the engine hung out in the tail. This one I'm guessing is on air suspension, hence the slightly collapsed look, but I assume it'll be lifted up to more normal levels when it heads off back home. This is a one-day event down here at Stoneleigh. It's a venue I've been coming to for many years. In fact, one of the most memorable trips here was in 2011 when I brought Big Dodge here for the very first time, the first time post-restoration. I had it brought down here for Race Retro, but this is the first time I've been to the restoration show. Certainly an interesting do, and lots of auto jumble here. I wasn't sure how many stalls would be here, because sometimes you go to shows and the auto jumble is a bit on the weak side, but looking around here, there certainly is a lot going on, and it appears to be very well supported. So that is quite pleasing to see. Yep, the gentlemen from Thornton-le-Dale are very, very popular here today. People queuing for a bit of a chat. Of course, you really, really need to know what you're looking at. Lots of Wolseley parts just clustered over here. The Wolseley 1885. So that was the Wolseley badge version of the old Landcrab, the 4-cylinder Wolseley 1885. Of course, there was the Wolseley 6 as well, which had the 6-cylinder engine. Certainly helps to bring a list with you if you're looking for anything in particular: cylinder heads, pistons, maybe steering wheels, carburetors for probably a Mini Cooper, I would have thought. Yeah. Lots of brochures. I do like an old car brochure. The Austin Mini Coupe and Cooper S. Young lady there posed with it. The Unipower GT. So that was an interesting mini base car. Spot the Triumph Spitfire windscreen surround on the Unipower there. The Rochdale Olympic. What's that? The Musketeer. Never heard of those before. Gordon Keeble. Saw one of those down at Bicester recently. Lots and lots of shiny things. If you're a magpie, this is the place for you. But yeah, it's good to see some proper old autojumble for older cars. Interior lights. I think those are BMC, I think. Kind of look familiar. Right. Let's carry on down here. Lots of oils over the way there. Rubber parts. Ooh, what do we have glistening in black over here with the cutaway Coombs style rear arches? Is it a Jaguar or is it a Daimler? I think it's the Jaguar Mark II, yes. If it had the fluted plinth over the back number plates, then it would be the Daimler, but this is Jaguar Mark II, glistening in black, manual overdrive. Wow, super shiny wire wheels, lots and lots of shine going on there. This is a 2.4 litre, so this was the smallest of the 3 engines that the Mark II was offered with. Looks like it's still on its original registration numbers. That's good to see. Yeah. Super shiny, lots to keep you busy if you're fond of a polishing rag. Right here, what other cars do we see here? Right, I did see something in the distance over the way. Some nice doggies around as well. Ooh, I've got a few toys, a few models. Let's have a quick look along here. Anything that I need to own? I don't think so this time. So what's that? IL-76, the Russian Ilyushin, I think. Pretty cool. No, I did see. I'm sure I saw the roof of another car somewhere over here. There's that Acclaim just over there. Or was I seeing things? Who knows? Windscreen surrounds for an MGB front wing, MGA rear wing, lots of other MG bits scattered around. Right, there we go, there's the Mini, that's what I could see in the distance. And this Mini has something different going on under the bonnets, because is this one of the, yeah, it's the British Open edition. So this was a proper Rover Group approved limited edition version of the Mini, the British Open, with the distinctive full-length opening roof. But this one has under bonnet mods in the form of a twin cam engine. So a K series. I really don't know my later engines all that well. Let's see if we can have a look here. It's got a 16 valve cylinder head on it. Right, there we go. So there's the full lowdown on this particular car, if you want to pause the video. Yeah, many modifications going on there. Certainly a lot going on under there, but I find my eye is drawn not to the Mini so much, but the lovely E-Type pedal car just on the floor alongside it. I wonder if we can get a closer look at that. If I just go round, it's pretty busy in here, but I'm going to see if I can get a look at that pedal car, because I do like an old pedal car. There we go, the Jaguar E-Type pedal car. Looks very much like a Triumph to me. In fact, it should say it's in the middle of the steering wheel. There we go. Yeah. What a bonny little thing. And I spy some classic tins. Must be strong. Must be strong. Right. Lots and lots of distributor caps. I've spent quite a lot of time underneath the distributor cap of our newly bought Triumph Herald, only very recently indeed.
That's the best one.
Cool. It's getting kind of busy. So won't go too long with the recording because it's just a bit awkward to get through now, because such is the popularity actually of this one-day autojumble and restoration show. Wheels. I did actually spy on a stall just behind me a set of 5.5J wheels to suit Triumph Herald, Vitesse, Spitfire, etc., but it was the later Formula Ford style pattern, so those aren't really what I am looking for. Right, let's carry on around here. Lots of reproduction signs, all that kind of thing. Let's just nip through here, try and find a bit of a gap. I suspect it's getting quite close to a cup of coffee time, I think. Cut across here just in case there's anything else particularly photogenic that I've missed, any cars tucked away on trader stands that are worth a look at, because you never really know, especially low slung cars, they're easily missed amongst the crowds of people here today, but we'll soldier on regardless. Try and just give a real flavour for this particular event. Late Mini Cooper wheels there, 12 inches. $1,300 GT steering wheel. It's one of those hanging up in the garage, I think. Right. See some old jacks, some Elvis parts in here. Elvis TDs. I do like a nice Elvis. Jack action there. Consumables for sale over there, tools, the little doggy there. I'm sure there's quite a few canines here. I wonder what they make of this chaos. Right. Plough on, lots and lots of tools. Now back to the Blockley Tyres Emporium. Lots of tyres displayed with the wheels for the cars they belong to. So 14-inch Ross style, so that'll be MGB. Looks like Porsche, Morris Minor, and many others besides. That's pretty cool to see. More wheels over here. Loads and loads of new and second-hand parts. Front bumper there for the rubber bumper, MGB. Late Beetle and early Beetle. lamps there, rear lamps. And over here, some very nice looking little toy cars, model cars. Any Triumph Heralds though. I catch a glimpse of Renault 4CV panels. As regulars to the channel will know, until not that long ago we did have a 4CV, or in fact a Renault 750. Yeah, Renault 750. So that was the UK built version of the Renault 4CV. British cars were built up at Acton, down London way, so we've got the engine cover, rear engine of course, got a bonnet underneath, and a front wing. Wow, what a rare thing to find. Original panels for a Renault 750. Just back having another quick look at this unique Triumph Vitesse Coupe, and I've just noticed the information in the window. It says it was shipped to Paris by a British United Air Ferries aircraft from Lydd Airport down in Kent. British United Air Ferries, they used to operate the old Bristol freighters and the Bristol super freighters with the longer nose on them. And elsewhere on the website, on the main website, there are, I think, one or two photos of British United Air Ferries and indeed the Silver City Air Ferries car service aircraft. I think there's some original black and white photos on there. So if you wanted to nip across to France, you could either get them, and obviously nowadays you go in the tunnel or on the ferry, but back then you could actually book a ticket with BUA or Silver City, and you would take your car with you in the hold of the aircraft. You would drive up and it would be loaded into the aircraft itself, your car flown over to, I think it was Le Touquet, it'd be unloaded, car driven off, you would hop back in and off you go. What a great service that was. I'm not sure how long it ran for, certainly in the 50s and throughout the 1960s, but I'm guessing it was probably pensioned off some point towards the end of the 1960s. But yes, this car certainly had a very, very colourful life, including being flown over to France in the hold of a BUA air ferry. I almost forgot the fact there is the autojumble outside as well, out here in the fresh air. Fog was mainly lifted, but it's still a little bit on the misty side. This is where the really die-hard jumblers and jumble buyers are outside, braving the elements. Quite a few panels, looks like a midget door skin there. Various sills, many tins. We'd like a bit of tinnage. I might have to have a look around here a little bit later. Some real Bobby Dazzlers there. But I spy over on the side of the car park here quite a gaggle of older Ford Transits. Well, I say older, there's a newish one there. Is this the Smiley, the so-called Smiley, with the upturned grille? So let's go and have a quick shufty at this incredible assortment of preserved Transits over here. We've got a Mark I Custom, the camper conversion from 1966. What a great thing that is, with the pop top as well. Look at this here, like a crew cab pickup or tipper. Is it a tipper or is it a pickup? I'm not entirely sure, but it's a crew cab, I think, with the extra row of seats just in the back there. Hope you can see. We've got a drop side body on the back. Not sure of ever. Is this a one-off, or is this something you could buy back in the day? I wonder if it started out as a van, perhaps. I'm not sure. Either way, it's very neat looking transit pickup with crew cab. Room for 4, maybe 5 people inside. Pretty neat. So that's the Mark 1. This is the Mark 2. Got another Mark 1 camper. Well, I say Mark 1, there's 3, I think. 3 other Mark 1 campers just here. Wow, beautiful condition. Wow. Look at this Dormobile here. Dormobile Martin Walter was the company behind the Dormobile conversions. This one from 1966, that one late 67, early 68. Oh, what a thing, what an assortment of older Transits. Short wheelbase Mark II van here, and another Mark I based camper just on the end of the row here. What a fantastic assortment of Transits. Wow, didn't realise these were here. I almost missed these entirely, so I'm glad I came for a bit of a walk around outside. Well, there we go, that was my walk around of the restoration show here at the National Agricultural Centre at Stoneleigh. What were the highlights? Well, definitely this Barnfind Standard Companion Estate. What a little treasure this is. What a rarity that is. I really look forward to seeing this one restored in due course. And of course, that stunning pre-war Rover that I was looking at a little while back. So, thank you so much for watching this particular video. Lots more videos planned for the rest of this year and onwards. So please keep an eye on the channel if you like a bit of classic car content in your YouTube viewing. Let me know in the comments which cars really stood out for you. Maybe your car was on display here today. Maybe this little Standard 8 is yours, who knows. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please give it a like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of thing. There'll be loads more videos along very, very soon. So bye for now.